a lot of companies do well because they sell a spread of different products, right? You don't like this one specific brand, no problem. We got something else. You're pretty much shooting yourself in the foot if you only sell one option. And that person wants to buy, but if they don't like what you can offer, they're going to go buy somewhere else. Money lost. So being captive, there's perks to it, but on the flip side, if we're all here to make money, which is the main reason, because if none of us made any money doing this, we'd all be friends, but we probably part ways and go do something else that makes money because we all have bills to pay, rent to pay, mortgages to pay, life to pay, food to put on the table. And I'm gonna go where the money is, right?
If you want to thrive in this industry, successful. Welcome to VIPAs, the game plan call.
Welcome back to another weekly agency call, game plan call. Today we are going to be going over a very, very important topic for all agents, new, old, what, and everything in between. So we have, being blessed to have the opportunity to speak to the data tracking master, Mr. Bryan White. So I appreciate you for joining us this morning, man, especially last minute too.
Of course,
Uh,
bro.
you've been a great proponent and a great, piece of our organization for sure, man. I mean, you've done amazing things. I think last year, correct me if I'm wrong, you did between like what, 250 to $275,000 in issue paid premium.
Yeah.
It's insane. How long have you been in the business, if you don't mind me asking?
Um, Insurance wise, 6 years.
Wow.
Been doing this. This is in December. Doing this specifically will be 4 years.
What's this specific? This specific.
Just being an independent
Hmm.
insurance agent.
I see. I see. What did you come from, a practice company or a different agency or?
Came from a practice agency, yeah. And
Okay.
then before that, I came from a company called eHealth, where I sold Medicare. I was an inbound sales rep. And then before that, I worked for State Farm.
Oh man. Okay. So you got like experience on all ends. You got like
Yeah.
PNC. You never captive though, right? Never like captive.
PNC with State Farm, I was, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, for sure.
And then eHealth, I was captive too. Well, no, I wasn't captive, but I was captive technically in commissions.
Mm, no doubt. You're gonna get into the health game. Have you been selling health policies while being here?
No,
Not yet.
not yet. It's in my it's on my bucket list to sell it because then you can just expand. I've had a lot of people actually ask me about health insurance while selling life insurance.
No doubt. No doubt. I mean, I think we talk about that metric. I don't want to get too carried away here, but we already know that when somebody has more than one policy in the home, then the chances and the likelihood of them staying on the books is much higher, right? So we'll definitely get into that at some point. But the TOD here, I want to sort of figure out, pick your brain, see what we need to do, see like where we're lacking in terms of, you know, data tracking as a whole. Um, Now, actually, quick question. What do you say is the biggest difference between working captive versus being in this organization as a whole? What would you say is like, something some advice you want to give to like agents who are, in the captive space, looking to expand their opportunities and then getting into the brokerage side?
Yeah. I mean, there's a reasons that stores like Kohl's, Amazon, Walmart, Target, Meyer, I mean, a lot of companies do well because they sell a spread of different products, right? You don't like this one specific brand, no problem. We got something else. You're pretty much shooting yourself in the foot if you only sell one option. And, that person wants to buy, but if they don't like what you can offer, they're going to go buy somewhere else. Money lost. So being captive, there's perks to it, but on the flip side, if we're all here to make money, which is the main reason, because if none of us made any money doing this, we'd all be friends, but we probably part ways and go do something else that makes money because we all have bills to pay, rent to pay, mortgages to pay, life to pay, food to put on the table. And I'm gonna go where the money is, right? And obviously, there's a lot of other important components of that culture, making sure you work with people you like, morale, right? All that's important, but you got to go where the money is too. That's the foundation of it. So if you're shooting yourself in the foot, that's not good. You want to go where the money flows. And
Mhm.
the money flows where people can offer other options if someone doesn't like one specific brand or company.
No doubt. That's a beautiful way to put that, honestly. I mean, diversification will contribute to revenue growth as a whole. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not just in every business. So, no, definitely. I think that you're not a, common denominator when it comes to that. I think it's a pretty common theme that we hear when we hear from, in similar situations like yourself, right? I came from a practice company too. So I totally agree with you in the sense where it's like coming here, man, like there's so many times when like we talk to a client, like yeah, the money is great for sure, but like it's honestly a disheartening thing when you speak to a client or a prospect and they like genuinely need coverage, right? And then you send in an application and sometimes in captive, it's like it takes a long time for the underwriting to come back. And like when it does, they get their hopes up, underwriting comes back, they decline, you can't really do anything with them. All right, like, oh, well, you can't qualify here. Good luck trying to find, it's insane. So, there's that piece. So it's tough. It's tough. Or like it doesn't fit within their budget, right? It's tough. So, nah,
Yeah.
man. Yeah.
You're more valuable if you can provide an array of options. Money
Yeah.
flows where the value flows, right? The more value you can provide, the more you get paid. A lot of people think, oh, I get paid on a salary, or I get paid by hourly rate. It's like that's not true. You get paid by the hour you provide to the hour. So I said that backwards. You get paid by the value that you provide to the hour.
No doubt. No doubt, man. But with that though, with that, going based off what we get paid, we kind of have to sort of HD talks about this all the time, right? Connect the dots looking backwards, right? So the end piece is obviously, we close a deal, we get paid, but looking back, what sort of, steps need to be taken in order for us to even close in the first place, right? So that's where data comes into play, right? The importance of tracking your book of business, tracking your data. I know you've been a big proponent of that. How long would you say that that's something you've always been doing, or is that something that you like newly sort of integrated into your practice, as of now?
I would say I started doing it towards the end of um to mid 2022.
Okay. Okay.
Um, I had clients that were calling me, and I'd be like, God, who's calling me? Right? The voice sounds familiar, and the name sounds familiar, but I can't remember what I talked to them about. Can't remember what I sold them. And here I am before we had the Simply Work CRM. I'm like digging through just handwritten notes in my car that I crinkled underneath my car seat because that's when we were in the days of in-home appointments rather than virtual.
Mm, no
And
doubt.
any of their system is not working. And so I just started to like piece it together. I was like, all right, what's this? What in most basic terms, what do I need to know when someone calls me? It's like, well, I need to know their name. I need to know what conversation I had with them. I need to know why I sold my life insurance policy because we sell life insurance, but we package it so many different ways, right? And I need to, if a final expense client calls me and talks to me about burial expenses for their life insurance, I'm not going to call it mortgage protection.
Right.
Then they're gonna be like, what the heck are you talking about? I don't have a mortgage. I rent, right? And I might lose credibility. Can you imagine if you called your bank and they talked to you about the shoes that you bought and you're like, what? No, I'm trying to check how much I have in my savings account, right? And they're trying to talk to you about something else that has nothing to do with what you're trying to call. Your bank's going to lose credibility from you in your eyes because you're like, this is not professional. I want a professional service. I want to trust the company knows what I'm calling for when I call them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. These are key notes. These are key notes, and so like when you'd run into conversations like that though. So now you've always been in the business for 6 years. So you have I can imagine you're a pretty decently sized book of business,
Mm.
right? Now, hmm, what did you do to sort of like start tracking your business as a whole? So like obviously what I'm hearing you say, it sounds like you obviously had to start to figure out. You obviously were like saving your clients to your contacts at least, right? Or no?
Yeah, I
What
saved them. One thing I did is I went out. So I have
you
two cell
say?
phones, right? This one's my business. This one's my business. It's opposite in the screen. This one's my business. This one's my personal, right? And so I was like, I don't want people calling my personal cell phone, right? Because if I have a doctor's office or someone called me that's important. I don't want to wonder if it's personal or business, right? Because it's a random phone number calling my personal phone. Um, I just don't want to, because the first 15, 30 seconds of that phone call, if it's for business, you want to be on point, right? You want the person to feel comfortable with you saying, oh, I literally just bought a product from this person. They know exactly who I am. So I need to separate it so that way, for my own sake and sanity, I can provide that professional service and that confidence on the phone within the first 15 seconds instead of trying to figure out who they are, right? So I need to separate it. How do I do that? Okay, well, I need a personal and a business cell phone. So I went out and bought a business cell phone. And I was like, man, it's expensive. But then I started thinking, I was like, if I can't provide an extra $80 to invest back into my business, what am I doing here? Right?
Right. You back, yeah.
That should be peanuts. I make one sale and I make $1,000. So I should be able to get at least get something to invest back in my business. And I was like, all right, let's start with a cell phone. So I added an extra line and I've had that number ever since. And I don't ever plan on changing it. But that is kind of where I started to say, okay, I need to separate stuff. I need to track stuff. And it started honestly with a cell phone.
Beautiful, beautiful. I think that makes the two of us, man. Because man. I think remember like being at the practice company too, similar to yourself, like having your friends, your family calling you on the same phone as clients are calling you, kind of get mixed up, right? And then everyone else in between, right? Um, so no doubt, man, the organization piece is huge. I think we've encouraged a lot of agents within the organization as a whole to sort of invest into having a second line if possible. But luckily, as tech driven as we are, obviously have a CRM and that thing, kind of helps us separate those things too. But now talking a little bit more into the actual like data pieces that you're tracking, right? So obviously, you're tracking like the clients within like your phone and so on and so forth. But now bringing it back to like, are you tracking like your dials? Are you tracking your like what would you say is the most important metric that you're tracking overall as of right now, right? Whether that's like, contributing to the P&L as a whole or like, dials, appointment show ratios, all those things. What would you say is the most important thing? And let's start there, I'd say.
Yeah. So the most important thing for me is to know, well, there's two things, right? There's my personal, like these are my personal business or goals. And then this is what I need to track just to be confident in my business and provide the value and level of customer service to my clients when they call me, right? So one thing I track is I track total approved annual premium, right? Because we can submit a policy, they get pushed through, they get it submitted, placed in force, issued, right? What's going on with that? And I track how much has actually been approved and issued, right? Like there's nothing else I can do as an agent. There's no more amendments, there's no more going back to the client, ask them, hey, did you actually use tobacco? Because they're saying they found tobacco. And I need to go change the question on tobacco from no to yes. Like there's no more back office work I need to do for anything regarding that specific sale, right? And so if it's pending, I track if it's pending, I track everything down to the dollar, how much I have that is sitting in my book of business for the month. And I break it down by month. So I can share my screen. Let me hide something
Yeah,
real
yeah, that'd be great, man. 'Cause that's the next thing I was gonna ask you. Like, do you have anything to show for it? That would be great. Now, I challenge all of you guys who are tuning in right now, like pay attention to this because if you guys need to create something like this, now would be the time, right? Especially if you're new here. Don't wait till you have like 50 clients or you have 20 clients. Don't wait. Like the best thing, even if you haven't closed a deal yet, organize everything ahead of time, right? And if you have not, used something like this before, well, now would be the time. Then input your book of business into this accordingly, right? We always talk about this, right? Having a pulse on your income, having a pulse on your business, right? A big thing that, we challenge the organization to do as a whole is like every morning, like check your bank account. That's a big, big habit that even I got into, right? Like check your, and then no, understanding, like you said this before, right? Understanding the difference between your business and your personal, right? And separating the two. Okay, so you start stacking money on the side for it. How much will you stack? So obviously you have personal expenses. Do you mind going a little bit of in depth just to give people the most amount of clarity, like
Yeah.
personal expenses, business expenses, things like that? You comfortable with that? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So, obviously, someone's experiences yourself. I can imagine you're obviously separating the two. So, business expenses. What were your business expenses at the time?
So my business expenses at the time were about um
4 grand.
four
Cool.
grand,
Personal expenses.
six.
6 grand. 10 grand just to live. Right.
Yep.
Business to run for you to live. Excellent. Now, out of that, how much did you stack up on top of that to be able to say, hey, I'm gonna take the risk, I'm gonna bite the bullet, and I'm gonna take all my own spend. What was that number for you?
It was like 2,500 to 3 grand. Because I honestly didn't know what my spend would be. And then so I started asking Samir, I was like, hey, can I take a look at the data? What's the expense per agent? And he started telling me. And so I was like, all right, so I need to stack a little bit more. So I went out and sold more policies. One of the reasons that I started to do that is because one of the reasons I had such a big December, I had a record-breaking December. I sold the most I've ever sold was because I was like, I don't want to wait, so I need to compress time. And how do you compress time? You just do more, right? It's
Mhm.
there's no, it's not like it's rocket science. You just do more in little and less time, right? And so I worked my butt off in December to be able to prepare for January. That way I was like, all right, January 1st, new year, new goals, let's go. I got the money ready to go.
Mm. Beautiful, beautiful, excellent strategy. So then by the end, and I love that you said that because I mean we live and die and breathe by come in with time or you come in with no money saying, and I'll, pay homage to Anthony Emiker because he was the founder of that statement. So, regardless though, how much did you stack up? I know Zach, he just said obviously call spend is 5 7K on a month. Keep in mind, if you guys are spending 5,000 and 7,000 on a monthly basis and you have experience, like you know how to close, because that's number one. Do not take on your own spend if you don't know how to close. If you do not have at least bare minimum 50% close ratio, you can't even afford to take on your own spend, respectfully. But like, with that being said, how much did you like stack up before, obviously take on your own spend? Like,
I
what was the
stacked
number?
up, yeah, I stacked up like 4 grand.
Beautiful, 4 grand. And you obviously bit the bullet on that too, right? Like that's no risk, no reward. That was huge. And then obviously you came out on top, took on your own spend, and here you are, man. This is amazing. This is amazing stuff. And then obviously now you make 100% of whatever you close, and yeah, that's great. That's great. So now obviously looking at this, CallX is not your only lead source. You're obviously calling your own book of business. You're obviously calling Age MP, which is our organization's bread and butter. Let's talk a little bit about book of business because that's pretty unique, right? It's pretty unique. What's like the protocol in terms of outreach that you're using to target your book of business? And then like how are you also tracking that too? Like is there like, you had probably a book of business for almost 6 years now. So like is there like a timeline that you're like, okay, I'm sending out a campaign at this time of the year, or I'm following this protocol because I remember this. Is there something like that that's happening, or is there anything else?
No, not so much. I mean, can I always improve it? Yeah, 100%, right? But what I do is we get paid 9 months in advance of commission, right? So go back 9 months. So I have this is 2025. I have 2024. So I go back 9 months and just look at my book of business. It looks exactly like this, just a different month, different names, different pieces of information, but the plugs are the same, right? And
Mhm.
I go, okay. And I go policy by policy. I'm like, all right, so let's just pretend that this was 9 months ago. All right, Joseph Steinberg, I put him with this. Is there anything that I can use in my tool belt that I can save him money,
Mm,
right? Maybe he had some kind of health issue at the time, but he's past the the window where he was a decline then, but no longer he's a level or he's a graded, right? So let's say he was a GIWL with Corebridge. Can I get him on SIWL graded now?
mm,
Can I get him on SIWL level? Say, hey, we're a year in, we're 9 months in, you're on a 2 year waiting period. I think I can actually get you immediate coverage now.
beautiful.
And when I call people, I was like, "Hey, Joseph, this is Brian. When I told you I'd be your insurance agent for life, I meant it. I'm not here to disappear. I'm always looking for my clients to make sure that I can save them money, even if it's $5, right? There's something that came out, and I think I can save you $5, right? Now I know it's not exciting, but $5 adds up over the years. So let's see what we can do."
Beautiful.
And people love that. And then I had my notes here, like, how's Erica?
Oh, oh yes. Rapport, instant close. This is where the infinite this is where the business gets fun, man. This is where the business gets fun. Like, man, everyone, oh yeah, man, I'm gonna take 3 months. I'm gonna give it 3 months. I'm gonna give it 6 months. No, you gotta be in this business for at least a year. Like
Yeah.
any other, and comparing this business to like any other business out there, like if you start your own business, I got it coming from somebody who's started numerous businesses in numerous different industries. Like from going from zero to, being in profit, not revenue growth. I'm talking about in profit takes, I'd say at least bare minimum 24 months, bare minimum. If you're trying to build something even relatively significant, right? Where you can see even a great, 6 figures in income, right? The average business in the US, I mean, in the world, doesn't even gross $1 million. I think throughout its, I mean, I don't know if it's throughout its entire lifetime. I believe so, if I'm not, mistaken. But regardless, though, I mean, this is amazing, man. And then you're hitting the infinite money glitch, right? Where you're just going back, moving into a different carrier, 9 months toss all over, you get the deposit, and boom, back in the leads. Like this is the system right here. This is amazing, man. This is amazing stuff.
You'd be surprised how many people are like, okay, because they trust me, right? I don't need to build my credibility more. It's already been sold. Now it's just doing.
Yep.
And
Yep.
with this system, I have it pretty much laid out. Every new month, I'm going back 9 months and just pouring through that book of business. And then the next month, I shift with it. The next month, 9 months ago. So I already have it all laid out crystal clear here, what I need to do. And if I can save the money, I can save the money. So I hit that first. That's the low bearing fruit. And then I come back and I call all my book of business and see if they want more. Hey, how's it going? Oh, you're struggling, right? Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Let's get you the coverage, but let's lower it a little bit so you can not struggle. And then it's no longer a chargeback. It's just another fresh commission check coming back into my bank account from the same client with no marketing spend.
Beautiful. Beautiful. No marketing spend. Look at that. No marketing spend. 100% profits. Glorious, glorious, glorious. I love that.
Yeah, of
So, hey, I challenge all of you guys who have been here for like at least a year now. Now would be the time, Brian. First of all, I appreciate you sharing that with us.
course.
Now would be the time to be, calling back that book of business. I know we have a few people within our organization that are, sort of leveraging that line of business, but that is low-hanging fruit, ladies and gentlemen. Carriers are constantly releasing new products, and if you can do what's in the client's best interest without coming across as trying to just sell them, oh man, it goes all that much better for you. Um, Eagle Select. If you guys wrote up a client last year that went GIWL from like, yeah, if you wrote any client that went GIWL and you have an understanding of their health conditions, I challenge everybody to go back, see if they'll qualify, look at the underwriting guidelines and see if they'll qualify for Eagle Select. Or even, I mean, any product, honestly, if they have like serious health conditions, SIWL, GIWL, anything like that, try look at the underwriting guidelines, see if you can switch them over to Eagle Select because that product through America is absolutely insane, amazing.
One thing I always told myself is I'm going to replace myself as soon as I know how to do something well and I can afford it. I'm going to replace myself as fast as I can because you can't grow without scaling, right? You have to learn how to delegate. Can you m- Companies like Walmart is massive, right? Do you think that's a one man show? No,
No, not at
right?
all.
A lot of people are like, oh, it's a waste of time for me to pay another person to do something I know I can do better. With that mentality, you're never going to grow because you can't have a massive organization without a team. Like you can make 6 figures, but I'm not in this to make 6 figures. I can go get a job. I have people offering me interviews, not jobs, but interviews to go make 400 grand, right? And that's great, but I don't like I'm literally putting a shackle on my feet. I'm putting shackles on my feet if I do that because I'm not in this to make 6 figures. I'm in this to make multiple millions, right? And so I'm always looking for ways like, okay, what can I do with this data to grow? The data is where I go back to find out how my business is doing. And I won't know unless I have data to track.
No doubt, man. $1 million B White, man. Come on.
I
I
mean,
want to ask this too. So, like, looking at that data, right? You brought up an amazing point, right? Like, your income becomes capped, right? Like, you can get by making six figures. I mean, wouldn't you agree? Like, you can get by in this business making six figures without anybody else. But, like, you know, like going back to like how this business becomes fun, right? Like, when you can really start putting people in place and you really have systems really working for you, right? But you had to earn that though, right? You obviously had to earn that. You had to pay your dues. You were in the industry for a great deal of years before you were able to even leverage somebody else, correct? Right? To be
yep,
able to have the access to capital to even be able to invest into somebody else, right? Both time and both with income,
yep.
right? Um, so no, for sure. I mean, the more I think it's actually crazy because we actually a few months ago I was talking to a few people within the organization and we were on the whiteboard. I think it was the Nugents, and I kind of like we broke down how an agent within this business could make $100,000 in income on a monthly basis. How an agent can with no agency, no team, no nothing. It's possible. You can do it. But the way to do it, I think we calculated the cost. You're spending about 20 grand a month to be able to do that and that's leveraging VAs, that's leveraging systems like the CRM, different types of lead sources, your own schedule. Like all those components have to come together and align in order for you to be able to make that kind of income,
Hmm.
right? And then bring it back even more, understanding how to close. You know what I'm saying? Like you can spend all the money in the world on leads, but if you don't know how to close, you're wraps. You're donezo. So that's huge. Last question here I have. Out of all the metrics you track, if one of these like that you track dropped by like 50%,
Hmm.
like which one would cause the most panic? Like let's say whether it's show ratios, whether it's I don't know, whatever. 50% out of any metric that you track, which one of those metrics would cause you the most panic? Like which one would you like, oh man, this is a problem.
Issue paid. Money,
Mm,
money,
mm,
what makes this all possible, right? We can all go do this for free, but we wouldn't last very long.
no doubt. No doubt. Issue paid premium is that is the real metric to get here, ladies and gentlemen. We do not go based off of submit. It's cute. Submit is cute. Anyone can push an app.
Submit is cute. Um, that's why it's easy to have high submit on the leaderboard, right? But the questions I always have, including myself, for my agents out there, including is how much of this is actually going to deposit into your bank? Because once the policy is submitted or an application is submitted, sometimes that's where the easy part ends and the real work begins.
Mm. Sometimes the easy part ends and the real work begins. Oh my! Someone put that t-shirt. Put the t-shirt right now. Good Lord. We'll be selling that right after this. Good Lord, that's amazing.
Take a
All people go to not what does that do? That takes time away from you being able to, get on the phones, talk to other clients, things like that. So huge,
yeah,
man.
yeah.
Total loss all around. I think that's pretty much everything on my end. I think I want to open it up for questions here. But hey, man, I appreciate you greatly for, shedding some light on the importance of tracking data, how you track the data. And I just can't wait to see, what you're about to do this year, man. You're already at $94,000 in submit, 71,000 in issue paid premium. I don't even want to ask you the deposits. I mean, you probably, depending on your comp, I mean, you probably made like 70 grand too in income. Jesus.
Well, you got to take into
Oh, in
consideration
advance. Sorry.
advance. So it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago. I had someone asked me, it's like, how much have you actually had deposited in your bank account this year? And it was like 43 grand.
Yeah. That's insane. Yeah, he is rich, ladies and gentlemen. He is rich. He always has a fade. Let's see it. Let's see it. Always has a fade. Always. Good Lord. Thank you so much for that. I think that was the biggest takeaway from today's conversation. Just the cut. God bless you, man. But thank you so much, seriously, for joining us today, man.